Good morning, class. So last time we discussed about this chapter. Now our chapter is on the end. We have to summarize our chapter. So in the live class we studied about the physical changes and the chemical changes, and we have done one activity, paper activity, and because of that activity we can understand the topic very well, that what are actually the chemical changes and what are actually the physical changes. Okay. In the last video we studied about what actually the mixtures are, what actually the compound are, and we have seen the differentiation and the difference between a mixture and a compound. Okay, so now let me summarize this chapter with a beautiful flow chart which is given in your book. Fine, today I'm going to explain this flow chart with you. So we studied about the first matter. Fine, in the first chapter we studied about the matter, and what is a matter? You can say that anything which occupies a space, which have mass, volume and all, so they are considered to be as a matter. And you saw that matter are furtherly classified into the three category. One is a solid, liquid and gas. Okay, so when we are talking about the solid, liquid and gas, we saw that there are the some thing by which we can identify between solid, liquid and gas, like interparticle space, intermolecular force of attractions. Okay, we saw the fluidity, we saw the rigidity, we saw the diffusion properties. So there are different topics which we discussed to differentiate between a solid, between a liquid and between a gas, but the more important thing are that intermolecular forces and the space. As you know that the intermolecular force is maximum in the case of a solid and minimum in the case of a gas. Same, interparticle space is maximum in the case of a gas and minimum in the case of a solid. Okay, now in the second chapter when we are talking about the matter, we discuss the chemical, when we discuss the properties of matter. Okay, so that time we saw that matter are actually two type. One is a pure substance and another one is a mixture. Fine, chemically they are categorized in two category. One is a pure substance and a mixture. Okay, so when we are talking about anything pure, what do we understand by this? Okay, so pure in the language of a common man, pure can anything. Okay, for example we say now that this milk is a pure. Okay, but actually milk is never a pure thing. Fine, same when we say that this water is a pure water, but what you think is that water becomes a pure water जो हम use कर रहे हैं. ठीक है, तो definitely no, because it has a lot of salts are there, impurities are there, so it is not pure. But what is in the language of a chemistry, what we considered as a pure thing? The pure thing is that in which there is one type of things are there, one type of atoms are there. For example, when we are saying any element, okay, so that element have the every atom have a same thing. Like when we are talking about gold, the gold, it means that each and every atom of the thing is made up of gold only. Fine, same when we are talking about any compound like water, we say, so okay, when we are talking about water, we can say that this water has hydrogen and oxygen always. So okay, so then it will be considered as a pure form. Fine, so we should know that pure substance is that substance which is made up of same kind of things, so that will be considered as a pure. Okay, so next furtherly we are classifying this pure substance into the two categories. One is a element and other one is a compound. Now what is a element and what is a compound? Fine, so element maybe already I discussed to you. ठीक है, तो एलिमेंट में वी आर कंसिडरिंग अ मेटल, अ नॉन मेटल एंड मेटलॉइड्स. वी स्टडीड अबाउट द फिजिकल प्रॉपर्टीज एंड केमिकल प्रॉपर्टीज ऑफ द मेटल, मेटलॉइड एंड नॉन मेटल. So I don't want to discuss more about this. So here there is a general definition of this is written there, that element, it means that cannot be broken down to the simpler substance. For example, if I will say you that just suppose that I have a gold atom. ठीक है, gold, I am taking a gold element, so can I make O2 over half? No, definitely no, because each and every atom have a single identity, so we cannot break it into the further. Fine, so that element, it means we cannot broken down into the simpler substance, so that is a element. And element, you can see it has three type. It is a metal, it is a non-metal, and it can be a metalloid also. Fine, so for example, you listen about so many metals like iron and all, mercury and all. You now are listen, half of the mercury, half of the iron. It's not possible at all actually. Okay, so the element is that cannot be broken down into the simpler substance. Now what are the compounds? Okay, so as I told you, compound is a chemically combined thing which have a proper ratio. Okay, for example, if I'm saying that when we are mixing 2:1 of hydrogen and oxygen, then definitely we are going to get the water. But when we take the 2H particles and 2 oxygen particles, then the compound will be a H2O2. It is a hydrogen peroxide, and the property of hydrogen peroxide are entirely change with comparative to the water. Okay, so it is not showing any property of a water. So you can see there is only difference of one oxygen, but you can see the properties are completely different. Okay, so compound, it means when we are talking about the fixed composition, and it cannot be broken down into the simpler substances by any physical method. For example, if I will give you a glass of water and I will say you, I want oxygen from this water, are you able to separate the oxygen from the hydrogen at your home? Definitely no, we cannot separate. There are the means, chemical processes are there by which we can do it, but physically we cannot do it. Fine, but mixture ko, as you know, that we can separate it. Fine. So what are the compound? You can say that they have a fixed composition and cannot can be broken down into the element by chemical means, or cannot be by a physical means. Okay, physically you cannot separate it, but chemically you can do it. There is a process for that. Fine. Now third is the mixture. The mixture, it can be anything in any ratio. Fine. So there is no any fixed composition. It up to you that what kind of mixture you want. For example, if I am saying you that okay, prepare a tea for me, then it might be possible that you like ginger, so you add ginger a lot. Okay, somebody will like tea to add more, somebody will like to add sugar more. So it is depend on the person to person choice. There is no as such fixed compositions are there. So mixtures are two type. One is a homogeneous and heterogeneous. Already I told you about that. What are homogeneous? Homogeneous, it means they have a uniform composition. Once they made, you cannot separate, identify that is this mixture is made up of 2-3 things. For example, if I will say you that make a lemonade for me. Okay, to lemonade, it means you are adding a water, you are adding a sugar, you are adding a lemon syrup, you are adding some more things to make your lemonade tasty. Okay, like soda and all, whatever you want to add that. Fine. So if you will see that, you can see the one solution only. You cannot see the lemon is there, you cannot tell where are the sugar particles, you cannot see where you kept the your lemon particles are there, your water is there. You can see only the one thing, which is the water. Fine. So that type of thing, that kind of mixtures are called as homogeneous. And heterogeneous is that in which you are able to identify the two boundaries of the mixture. Okay, for example, if I will say you that sand or salt को मिला लो आप, ठीक है, या sugar और salt को मिला लो, then that time you can easily, ठीक है, different kind of pulses को आप मिला लेते हो, that is a heterogeneous mixture. So hope this chapter is clear to you. If you have any doubt, you can ask this to me. Okay, then we'll do the question and answer from tomorrow onwards. We'll discuss about that. Okay, so what is your work? You have to go through the chapter, draw this chart, a flow chart in your classwork, left side of copy, and this is important also to do it today.